Hey, everybody, welcome back to our Penguins chat. Coming to you guys after game 81. Andrew Destin with Matt Vensel, talking all things Penguins hockey after the Penguins beat the Nashville Predators to stay alive in the playoff race. Since we last spoke, this team no longer controls its own destiny. I know that's Matt's favorite term, but things are now out of their hands. Matt, with the playoff picture, I don't want to bog down too much on that and kind of expand out some more topics, but just to briefly run through all that. Um, Out of their hands, Penguins are a point back of both the Red Wings and the Capitals and need the Capitals and Red Wings to both lose or lose in regulation and for the Penguins to win Wednesday against the Islanders. So safe to say that this is not a clear-cut path, and they've got some things that need to work in their favor that it doesn't look like they will. Isn't that fair to say?
That is fair to say. You just stated a bunch of facts, and I'm not going to dispute them.
No disagreements. Is I want to expand that out though to the stretch that this team's had though in late March. I mean, I know there's a lot of places we could go with this, with the postseason push, whether or not qualifies as a success if the Penguins get to the playoffs or if they don't. But expanding out, looking at this stretch since late March, should this change at all how Kyle Dubas and the Penguins approach the offseason, just given that it has been a disappointment on the whole? But they've obviously finished out here pretty strong, regardless if they make the playoffs or not. Should that change any calculus? Is there anything individual performances or team wise that we should actually take serious stock in?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of individual things, but I don't think Kyle should make too much of this stretch here. I think it would be a mistake to ignore, the 70 other games that we saw what this team is and we saw this team's flaws to, just say, okay, the last dozen games makes me think completely different about the trajectory of the team. A couple of takeaways. I mean, one, Sid is still very good at hockey. So I think he can feel good about the fact that, all right, like as long as we have this guy, we have a chance to put a team around him. And I think the other big one is obviously Alex Nedeljokovic. The fact that he's played so well. Mike Sullivan went back to him against the Predators last night, Monday night, and he obviously was solid. Team played very well in front of him. But I think one thing he can say is, okay, like this is a guy we need to bring back. I don't think Ned's going to break the bank. I mean, probably a multi-year deal somewhere, around 2.5 million per year probably would be enough to get it done. I know Alex, told me last month that he would love to stay with the Penguins. So I think those are the two big things. But yeah, I think there's a danger in reading too much, into the stretch here because, like I said, we saw who this team was for much of the season. We're still seeing, these flaws pop up in the games, even though they're winning in spite of them. I guess maybe one more thing is just like, hey, some of these young guys, particularly your boy Jack St. Ivany and also Drew O'Connor, like these guys are building blocks. But I don't think there's major takeaways beyond that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Not to just be the guy who agrees to agree, but I mean, there's a sample size of 70 games that shows more so what this team is, and they've showed their cards of what they are at their core. I think more so the discussion points I have off of that is just how the Penguins approach the goalie situation going in the next year. Obviously, you mentioned with Alex Nedeljokovic, the contract that Tristan Jarry has, it's not going to be somebody who's easily movable. And I know we've mentioned it multiple times in this podcast that this is probably going to be the goalie core that they run it back with. In terms of this,
Well, that might this.
ooh,
Yeah, that was 2-3 weeks ago. I mean, I don't know how you can look at what's transpired here over the last 2 weeks and not think that potentially that's changed. I mean, I thought 2 weeks ago that they would run it back. It made sense. At that point, Ned had played maybe 5 games in a row, 6 games in a row. But the fact that it's been 12 games in a row, the fact that with the season on the line, Sullivan went back to Nedeljkovic. I mean, that Boston game with Ned looking like he was out of gas and getting pulled was an opening for Sullivan to go back to Jarry if he wanted to, and he didn't. So I think the situation has changed. That doesn't mean I think Jarry is definitely getting traded, but you can't help but wonder if they've reached a point of no return with Tristan there. I mean, Monday night they needed a win, and that wasn't the guy who was in the net.
yeah, they had every opportunity, every reason to, and he went away from him. kind of beat me to the point I was going to say. With Sullivan going into Nedeljokovic for a 12th straight start versus New York, I mean, that kind of says everything. Not to beat a bush, you kind of hit on a lot that beat a dead horse, but you kind of hit it on.
Wait, are we beating a bush or a dead horse? Which one are we beating?
Well, I was going to beat around said bush, but then beat the dead horse because we talk a lot about goalies.
Hopefully PETA doesn't listen to this podcast.
I'm catching strays. With Ned, though, I mean, there's not really much else to say other than that's kind of telling of what Sullivan thinks about him. I thought maybe the more revealing comment was that Sullivan said that this is the guy who gives us the best chance to win. I know that's what Sullivan always
says. That every game. Actions, Andrew. That's what is standing out here, not what the phrase I've heard 4,000 times in the last 6 years covering this team.
It was the same phrase. It was more just like how he built off of that, saying how like we're riding with the hot hand, we're sticking with this guy that, and he tried to basically dodge the question of why not Tristan, but it's, saying what he didn't say, or what he didn't say. I guess what stood out to me is that it wasn't the usual, we have extreme confidence in both goalies, that, we think highly of them both. We think Tristan can give us a great chance to win. This is just a matchup thing. It was, no, we think the recent results, all that sort of stuff. I don't know. To me, it just stands out.
Actions speak louder than words, my friend. You don't need to worry about what the coach said.
All right.
The fact that the season was on the line and Jarry was working the door tells you all you need to know.
Wow. Working the door. Sounds like something you did growing up. I don't know. Am I allowed to throw it back to you?
All right, let's go. You were groggy and just not on your game. Let's get going here.
Yeah, this is a failure for me. Is there anything stylistically about the way the team's been playing, though, that feels like a trend that will carry over into next season?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to be a completely different team next year. And we'll see if there's stylistic changes. I mean, the track record we've seen with Mike Sullivan is that there's probably not going to be stylistic changes, and we all expect Mike Sullivan to be back. Kyle Dubas has said it a million times. And this, stretch run here but only solidify Sullivan's footing. So, no, I mean, I think stylistically, we're probably going to see the same team. I mean, we can debate whether that's the right move or not at a later date, but I don't think there's really anything we can carry over into the next season in terms of the way the team's playing. Other than, hey, like if you don't allow a bunch of odd man rushes and you protect your slot, you're probably going to win more games than when you don't do that.
Yeah, that's
high-level hockey for you.
It's too easy to say and something the Penguins won't do, so why even bring it up, right? Wow. Shrug. But on that note, though, I mean, yeah, it's going to be a different team. I would like to believe that it'll be different, but with Sullivan at the helm, I'm curious to see how that kind of goes. The only things I take away are just the way they've generated offense recently. But again, that's a moot point if you revamp the entire roster, which I know we'll be writing about as much in the coming days, depending on how.
Yeah, you're burying this team, huh? They still have a chance, and you're already turning the page to next year.
Well, I look at it as this: is that even if they make the playoffs, which I know that's a point that will make it a successful season in some people's eyes, to me, it's still, this is the fewest regular season wins they've had in a full season since 05-06. I mean, it's a clear turn in the wrong direction. It's not a success even if you get into it, because it's not like you're going to beat either the Rangers or the Hurricanes. I know it's hockey that a lower seed team can pull anything off, but to me, I don't look at this as a success in any shape, shape, or form. So to me, I would look toward the future, just given that this feels like a moot point of discussing anything playoff related. But feel free to disagree with me on that.
I mean, I'm just saying they still have a chance as we record this, so we'll see.
Well,
I'm not saying if they make the playoffs, they're even going to win a playoff series, but our viewers are going to want to know what we think about that. So we'll see.
Well, what do you think?
Stranger things happen. I mean, I think knowing the way that this East race has gone, like we'll probably see the Capitals and the Red Wings lose tonight, and then the Penguins can winning it in, and then they'll lose. I mean, that's just kind of how like the wild card race has been. Although these teams have all picked up their play recently, I will say another interesting subplot. The Flyers and the Capitals play tonight. The Flyers need a regulation win. Wouldn't it be something if it was a tie game, Caps, Flyers pulled their goalie because they need a regulation win, and the Capitals get in on an empty netter? I mean, it's within the realm of possibilities that we could see that happen tonight, and that would be something.
I mean, I'm not ruling it out with Torts. I mean, he's done that at various levels, coaching wise.
Well, they have to. I mean, haven't you seen the Mighty Ducks? It's like the scene where they gotta get in. They need the win. They pull the goalie. I don't know if we'll see a flying V or their goalie take a slap shot, but yeah. So, anyways, one thing to look out for tonight with that game. That would obviously be a tough way for the Penguins to get officially eliminated.
Yeah, a game both you and Riley Smith are going to be watching.
I guess.
Yeah, something like that. Is that your expectation, though? I mean, I know that's the hilarious conclusion is for both teams to lose and then the Penguins.
No.
But how do you think this actually plays out? Who do you think is going to get in?
I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out. I mean, there's a few things that need to happen. Just look at the numbers. The Pens have like a 10% chance of making the playoffs because, they got to hit a 3-leg parlay here, so to speak. All I'll say is the Penguins have, done their part here over the last couple of weeks. I mean, what could prove to be the critical blow to them or the thing that knocks them out if things don't go their way is blowing that 2-goal lead against Detroit. Now they ended up winning in overtime on the Carlson clapper, but that loser point that they let the Red Wings get could ultimately end up being the difference between the Penguins making the playoffs or not if things shake out that way. So, that would be fitting in a way if the Penguins were to miss the playoffs because of one of their big collapses. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I do think, if the Penguins do get to a point where Wednesday's game on Long Island is a win and in scenario, the Islanders are not going to have a ton to play for in that game, not really have anything to play for other than getting ready for the playoffs. So that's advantageous. So, if they get to that point, they have no excuses but to win. But we'll see how these games play out Tuesday night.
Yeah, stay tuned for it. Going to be real important to follow along with. Before we wrap this up, just want to thank Pella for being our sponsor for this podcast. Pella Windows and Doors of Pittsburgh. There's no better place to get new windows and doors installed in your home than Pella, who can help you save on energy costs year-round. Schedule free in-home consultation with your local Pella Windows and Doors to find the right product for your home and budget. Give them a call at 866-593-1560 to discuss that project further. Again, that's 866-593-1560 to get started planning on your new windows and doors installation with Pella Windows and Doors of Pittsburgh. A lot to monitor, obviously, with the playoff picture starting Tuesday night with those couple of games. Matt, just to wrap this up, gotta let you get on the road to New York. Stick taps, who are you handing them out for these past few days?
Sidney Crosby.
Great choice.
He's awesome. 7 multi-point games in the last 12. He had another one Monday against the Predators. I mean, he just was so dominant in that first period. I mean, really throughout the course of the game, we get the numbers from SportLogic, and I'm pretty sure that in terms of his puck possession throughout the game, that was probably the highest all season in terms of him having the puck on his stick. And that's typically a good thing for the Penguins when that guy has the puck. But yeah, I mean, he's been great. If they do get in here over the next couple of days, he's far and away reason number one that this team was able to pull off the darn near impossible.
Yeah, no, kudos to him. And Alex Nedeljokovic said as much after the game of how that first period might have been the Penguins' best of the year, and it's no surprise that coincides with Sid playing as well as he did. I'm going to also make an obvious choice and say Alex Nedeljokovic, just getting back in net. For a lot of guys, obviously that could have rattled him getting pulled early. He'd said that physically he's held up fine. I know that, that's not an easy thing to start as many games in a row as he has, 12. Certainly Nashville didn't pepper him with the toughest of opportunities, but still, I mean, it's been a heck of a run for him. And regardless of what happens, it's something to certainly hang your hat on of just a great end to the season for Ned, who's basically started half the games for the Penguins. So good season for him. Great season for Sid. And we'll come back with more breakdowns for you guys, depending on how this playoff picture all shakes out the next couple of days. But in the meantime, keep up with our content on post-gazette.com. And thank you everybody for listening.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.